Hey, what's up everybody? This is Perry with Premier Guitar here in Nashville, Tennessee at the brand new Ascend Amphitheater outside. If you get a chance to, come check it out. It's pretty awesome. I'm talking to Carl Broemel, my homeboy in my morning jacket. What's going on, man?
How you doing?
Hanging in there, man. Here to talk about some of your sweet rig, dude. Got some really cool stuff going on, some new stuff. Let's start with guitars.
Okay.
Kind of show those off.
This is my black Les Paul. I've had this, I think it's in 1988. Back when I was in college, I put the Bigsby on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, has it been rerouted for?
Yeah, it's been.
It had a stop tail piece?
Everything's been swapped out. I keep swapping out pickups. Been worked on a bunch. It fell out of my friend's truck one day and lived. So I've had this guitar forever, and this has always been like the number one for me.
Did you have to replace the neck or anything when it fell out of his truck?
It was in the 80s. They had like plastic, huge plastic cases in the case.
It was fine.
I was driving behind my friend Mike's truck and I saw it slide out. I was like, no! But it was fine. Didn't need to be repaired. Then I bought this guitar at Groon a long time ago before I even lived here in Nashville.
P90 action? It's beautiful.
You know, I was on the road working for another band and saved up my per diems and bought a guitar.
Not a bad one to buy.
And
awesome.
yeah, it's been great. It's not like a vintage one, but it's been
What
beautiful.
year is it, do you know?
I have no idea. Do you know how the serial numbers work?
I'm not super familiar
I've
with
probably had it for 12 years. So.
Gotcha. Are those pickup stock, or is that something that you wanted
I've
to
never
do?
changed anything on that
Cool.
guitar. And then this is a pretty recent, well, somewhat recent acquisition, like
Doozy.
3 or 4 years ago.
Sorry about that.
This guitar kind of gives this guitar a run for its money. And since it is chambered, it's a slightly different sound. I got this kind of right before we started working on Circuital and used it a lot on that record. And then, you know, I've been using it a ton since. So I kind of split. These two guitars are the guitars I use the most.
The brunt, sure.
And there's some more guitars that are set up with specific tunings and what have you. Can you bring like the Caribou and the SG over, maybe?
No, and this doozy, are those proprietary Duesenberg pickups, or is that something that you wanted?
Well, yeah, they make everything, as far as I know, themselves. I think they do make pickups. They made their own.
Like that trem bar is pretty interesting.
They make their own tremolo, which is really nice. They did some cool things.
I love that it stays put.
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
like
great.
It's designed great. Like having a little slot right there is nice. It's a nice improvement over the normal Bigsby. The tuners are really nice. I mean, they did a lot of German engineering and like thought into this guitar, and it translates. I have a 12-string version of their guitar, and I also just got this
Noise,
which is more of a kind of a rockin' sounding version, but it's still chambered. I think it's the same.
So it's got like a little less warmth, like more rocket. Like,
it's a little more focused.
Smaller chamber, you think?
It's just like there's just more solid wood in this guitar.
Gotcha.
So I just kind of recently got this one. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's the Caribou. And then I bought this guitar from Rocky. What year is this?
67.
This is a 67 SG Junior.
Look how thin they were.
I leave this one in E flat for songs that are in E flat.
Gotcha.
Pickup's real microphonic and messed up sounding great.
Beautiful. Very, very cool.
So those are kind of the main ones.
And then you recently took on this Princeton, right?
Yeah. Usually I'll have a car slant 6 up here. I was just in North Carolina where their factory is, and I left it with them to do some tweaks for me. So usually that's up here, and I love that amp. So I brought this from home. Just thought I'd try to plug it into this 212 cabinet, and it's been great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's going to be my backup once the car is back.
I heard your tech line checking, and it sounded really good.
It surprised me, you know, but it's just such a simple amp. There's only, you know, I'm really only using 3. There's no reverb, none of that, nothing else clouding the signal. And we've had some good luck with warehouse guitar speakers. We've put a lot of warehouse speakers in cabinets around.
That's what's in the Mesa right now?
That's what's in here. There's
cool.
There's 2 different ones. I'm not sure what model they are.
So you're just bypassing this speaker and going right into a cab?
Yeah, I'm not using the 10, I'm using the 12s.
Cool.
And it seems to be great.
One's ceramic, about 75 watts.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh,
I thought Junior really deserves some
this
props.
guitar, for some reason this is like one of the best sounding guitars I have, but I always have it in a weird tuning, so I don't use it very much. But every time I pick it up, I'm like, man, this guitar sounds
Feels
great.
good? What do you love about that?
Standard. I think it's just because it's so simple.
Yeah, one pickup,
you know? And it's got a really thick neck. I don't know what it is about this guitar.
I think it's part that those juniors a little more wood.
Yeah.
Otherwise, same as the other juniors.
You think it's got a little more wood?
It's thicker, a little more substantial, sure.
Yeah, there's something about this going through like a fuzz pedal. It's just
very cool.
Oh, and this is the first Duesenberg that I got.
Look at that.
The reason I got one at all is I played one at a recording studio, and having a 12 string that stays in tune is like you can take it on the road.
Yeah.
So I got this first, and then Nathan brought me this, and he's like, "Take that for a while."
Can we turn that around so everybody can see the headstock? Because this looks like a mess of tuners. That's really cool.
It's actually simpler this way.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because you know which strings you're on. Yeah.
So anyway, this was the first Duesenberg, and now I have 3.
Wish I could do that at hotels.
Yeah.
Very cool. So in addition to the Princeton, you're also playing, is it 3 Monkeys? Is that what
3 Monkeys Grease Monkey. It's an EL84 amp, no reverb, real simple, going into some vintage C12Ns, some old Jensen speakers.
So you're basically trying to get the cleanest signal that you can get and then just color everything with pedals, right?
Pretty much. The Grease Monkey gets on its own when you dig in. It starts to break up a little bit.
Do you run them?
To keep this pretty, and they're on. Well, they're both on all the time.
Gotcha.
And sometimes we'll do some stereo stuff. Not a ton.
Yeah, gotcha.
Not like all stereo all the time.
That's not super
Plus,
complicated.
Always have a backup.
Got to,
it's like
yeah,
if one amp dies, there's something else is making sound back there. So.
Well, I guess that just leaves pedals.
Okay.
Let's take a look. Cool. All right, Carl. Man, I see a lot of pedal boards. This one is so tight. This is very, very clean.
Thanks. Yeah, I designed this and put it together with my friend Bucky Huck, who's a tech here in Nashville. When we were working on the record, I was on the internet and I discovered this kind of control system that does loops. It's made in England. It's a company called Gig Rig. I have tape over all the information, but essentially there's 10 loops. 2 of them are stereo. It can control 2 amps. You can set up combinations of pedals, or you can treat it just like a stomp bot, like just individually add things. So it's really functional, and it also sends MIDI. So I can control this H9 from presets and not have to be messing with the actual H9s.
So speaking of the H9s, you have 2 on the board.
Yep.
Are you?
One is before gain stages and one is after.
Gotcha.
I think there's a new feature in these now where you can split the functionality and have it change because it's a stereo pedal, but then you wouldn't be able to get stereo on your post gain stage one. So I like having 2 anyway.
Sure.
But they solve that problem if you only can get one. But it's just, I mean, basically all of their larger pedals that Eventide made, all the algorithms are in here, and you can control it with your iPad. It's insane. I mean, I only use it pretty sparingly over here, just for one harmonizing thing, and then over here, I had this built. It's just a MIDI controller for this. So I actually control this one. I have different kinds of washes that I use in between songs.
Just for noise in between.
Yeah, we like to like segue between 2 different songs and like maybe transition the key.
Real long delays.
And I control it with the boomerang here. I have this setting just to as an expression pedal.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's just an expression roller. It's just smaller. Like when I found this, I was like, it's great. It's so small. I don't have to have a huge. You know, sometimes the plastic expression pedals just kind of suck. So this one's cool because you just, you know.
So cool.
So anyway, the brains of the system are here, and this thing's been great so far. I haven't had no issues with it. But I've got an analog man compressor, the TC Electronics tuner because it's so small.
It's a tiny little guy. Yeah.
I love that thing. We used a lot of fuzz on the new record, and our producer Tucker had a nice old tone bender, a real one, a huge one that only runs on a battery, and it just sort of takes up too much space.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have it on the road.
But I tried a lot of fuzzes, and I thought this was really close. And
is
really,
it
really nice.
A clone of that, or is it just something similar?
I think it's a similar thing. It actually, it's different because the actual tone bender, to make it sound good, you have to go like
Crank
that.
It, yeah.
So this thing has a little more,
room to play.
Variables in there.
Cool.
Another cool thing is a Spaceman booster here, a harmonic booster. I use this for a clean boost a lot with the full drive. It's kind of like the main gain stage for me. I've tried so many other pedals here and always come back to this. That's just like a main, like a rhythm sound,
Sure.
and then I'll kick this in just to get a little louder.
A little something, sure.
And then, your standard digital Boss reverb, I've tried lots of fancy reverbs, and this one just seems to be good for like, your basic reverb sound. I leave it on Hall, but I've tried a lot of boutique reverbs and stuff, and I haven't really found anything that I love better than this for the road. In the studio, use a
Try
real tank.
Yeah,
Another thing kind of like that is this tape delay. I used to travel with the full tone tape delays, and I love those, and I wish I was, but just purely for on the road, this thing is close enough.
Gotcha.
And not having to deal with, when we play at Bonnaroo and it's 100 degrees and there's sand and shit flying through the air, the tape delays stopped working, Nothing against them, but
yeah,
so I
nice
use
and
this,
yeah.
And then the Mr. Echo I've had for a while. I love the slam function; it's really fun.
Does that give you like a tape warble kind of?
It puts the repeats and the delays all the way like this, and the repeats like this when you hold the slam, and when you let go, it goes roar.
Cool,
It comes
very
back
very
around, and then the Electro-Harmonics Pog is really useful for songs, many songs, and
Just a little flavor.
it's a little flavor. This
What's this
thing,
guy?
this thing banks up. So I think there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's 14 presets, and then you get another 14 with
Gotcha.
that.
Now, do you program that by the set list, or do you kind of just figure out where you're at?
No, I have just some basic combinations built, and then I have things that I add in.
Gotcha.
And the cool thing is, one of the greatest things about this thing is if you've decided to add a ton of pedals in, and everything's going nuts, just with one switch you're back to something simple.
To like a preset, pre-configured.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's been good. It's been really good for me. It saves me a lot. I have to sing a lot, and I'm also triggering samples over here. So I've got a lot of jobs. It's like one less move really helps me a lot.
So is that controller running to that loop station?
Yeah. So I'm using this loop station, and I loaded it up with preset samples that I need, and then I trigger it with these. So I've got three samples per song, and then I can scroll through with this
Gotcha.
to the different songs.
And so the rest of these pedals you're kind of using for other instruments that you're playing, right? Like sax and...
Yeah, I run a sax through these 2 Eventide pedals, and I use this radio. It's called the Voco Loco. It was made for singers who want to sing through guitar pedals.
Very cool.
But obviously it works for a sax mic. So you can control how much you're sending to these, and there's a little EQ there, and you can kick in the effects or not. And for me, the stage is so loud. A lot of times, even while I'm playing or during the song that I play sax, if I'm not playing for the moment, I'll come over and mute it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like...
How did you conclude to use guitar pedals with saxophone? Is that something you've always kind of played with, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, in the studio, we started doing a lot of splitting where I would, we'd set up a normal mic, and then I'd also use like a Voco Loco or the Eventide Mix and Mixing Link. It's a similar product. And put some fuzz or some octave on it, and we blend it together. So that's kind of how this started.
Pretty cool. And then also on this tour, you're playing lap steel, right?
Pedal steel, yeah.
Or pedal steel, excuse me, that's even
Yeah.
harder. Jeez Louise. How much of the set is played on pedal steel? Is it about half and half?
Depends. It's not half and half. It's probably 2 or 3 songs at most a night. But it's one of my favorite places to be on stage. And I've had this GFI pedal steel for a while now. It's been great. This thing sounds great, and I got to order it and configure it the way I wanted to. I've used a Hilton volume pedal, which is nicer. For pedal steel, it seems to work better than like your standard.
Better
mini
travel?
Ball. There's no potentiometer in it.
Gotcha.
It's light based. It just seems to be clearer for pedal steel. One of the secret cool things I have here is this steel guitar black box made by a pal named Brad Sarno. There's basically an impedance matcher in here. There's a transformer and a tube.
A little 12AX7 or something?
There's a little tube in here, and there's a lot of like sweetening going on in here, and you can dial in. Sometimes, especially on a modern steel, there'll be kind of like a mid-range or a high peak. You can sort of dial out.
Almost.
And since you're using pedals, this basically pretends like you're going straight to an amp.
Gotcha.
So the pickup loves to see this tube first, right? And then I just have a really simple Voodoo Lab looper here. And in there I've got the mini Moog delay, another Eventide, the mod factor this time. And here's an Earthquaker device. I don't know what this is called, the dispatch maker. Dispatch maker. It's got reverb and delay. I use it mostly just for reverb. And then a Durham Sex Drive. I used to use this a lot for guitar, but it's great for steel. And so I kick that in if I need to.
Just a little grit or
just
boost?
to get a little clean boost.
Yeah.
For an amp, I've got an old Showman that somebody put into a deluxe reverb cab.
Oh, very cool.
This is my backup. My number one is a 70s Vibrasonic, which is a huge, heavy amp, but it's at the shop.
Gotcha.
So, but this one sounds good too.
Heck yeah, man. Not a bad setup.
Yeah.
What a cool job you have. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Perry.
Yeah. You guys, stay tuned for more rig rundowns, review demos, all that fun stuff. Catch you later.
Don't forget to sign up for PG Perks, your all-access pass to exclusive gear giveaways and discounts on PremierGuitar.com.